All right. Good evening and welcome to Bliss Ballito's second webinar. My name is Andrew Patterson. I'm from Rainmaker Marketing. I'll be facilitating the evening tonight. This is our second webinar, a pre-launch to our phase 2 release happening on the 25th of June, which is this Saturday. We are excited to have our panelists with us this evening, and we are going to be going through quite a lot of detail in terms of key insights, both for the project itself, the development, as well as the precinct, North Point, and also just a general update in terms of the feeling on how property is happening on the North Coast with our resident experts from Dwell. Just a few housekeeping rules. I think what we want to keep this short and sweet, but with highly impactful information. So we'll probably run for about 45 to 50 minutes. If you do happen to drop off or the link, your connection breaks, you can actually just click back on the link that was sent through to you on the email, and it'll bring you right back into the session again. There is a chat function below, which we are encouraging you guys to ask questions, and we'll allocate some time towards the end, probably about 5 or 10 minutes for a Q&A session. We'll try and get through as many of those questions as possible. We are recording this session, so we will be sending this through to all attendees and registrations who will be able to receive this. And we'll try and answer any of those questions within that communication going forward. Yeah, so just to kick things off, I think the objective of this webinar is to provide you with key insights to the product offering. As you may well know, this is a phase 2 introduction. Phase 1 was a sellout success. All 114 apartments were sold within the launch weekend, which just goes to show what the demand is for the secure estates at a particular price point within the North Coast can do. With introducing our panelists this evening, we have the team from Dwell, which is Devin DeLange and Dean Delaray. We can just say, how's it, guys? We have Kevin Swart, who is a part of the development team from North Point Ballito.
Evening, guys.
And then we have Matthew Benson-Armour, who's the architect at Bliss Ballito.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having us.
And finally, we have Bruce Bremo, who is the director from True North Developments and who are part of the development team.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining.
Cool. So just going to kick straight into it. My first question is coming at you, Kevin. I think what we're all interested to understand is just to remind folks who haven't necessarily heard of North Point, first of all, in terms of what the precinct has to offer and your plans for how you're developing the space. And then maybe just give us an update in terms of where you are from a holistic overview with key milestones like introducing when the gatehouse and the guardhouse is going to be ready, the running trails, and potentially other opportunities that are going to be released within the precinct itself.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so I mean, obviously we've had the previous webinar, but maybe just to bring the guys up to speed with where we've come from. The project's been on the go for about 4 years. It's an 80-hectare site, so there's been a lot of hard yards and the planning and the processes to get things to where they are now. The infrastructure for the project, and it's a mixed-use precinct, so we're basically doing a little new town centre there, where you've got a mixture of commercial and then you've got some residential opportunities sitting there in 10 hectares of the site as well. So we've been busy with it for a while. We're currently at a very exciting stage. I would say we're about 85% through with the infrastructure. So, you know, we've built the big intersection on the R102. And then the following year, we built the bridge over the railway line. And now we've got into the real meat of the site and the heart of the site, which is what has been engrossing us for the last sort of 12 months or so, and getting the roads and everything in. So, the guys, even if some of the guys who came to the first phase launch come back now, they'll see a marked difference on the site even in the last 2 or 3 months. And in fact, the full site and the full infrastructure completion will be done by the end of this year. You alluded to the gatehouse. I mean, the gatehouse, you can see behind me, if I just dodge out the way there, we've got a really smart gatehouse coming into the precinct there. The plans are sitting in with council now. We're meeting with contractors to discuss the construction program. It's a relatively short build timeline, hopefully within about 4 months. So, that project will be getting going in the next month or so as we get the plans out of council. So, again, there's been market changes on site over the last year, and over the next even 6 months towards the end of this year, you're going to see a huge change in the site as well. With creating a precinct like this, I think I'll just touch on 2 things that we're very, very passionate about, and what we're really trying to make as a market difference in this development for ourselves, is that a huge focus on security. So, the entire precinct has got, it's got clear view fencing, electric fencing the whole way around. We're starting with the camera installations and the security installations literally in the next few days. So, and with obviously the issues we sometimes find ourselves with in terms of load shedding and things like that, we put a lot of solar into the setup. So we're aiming for a well over 99% uptime in terms of the system. So, there's things like that have been catered for, so especially for Bliss specifically within this new town centre, you've got layer upon layer of security. That's obviously a massive thing these days, and it's a massive plus for the environment that you're going to be living in there. Another thing I wanted to touch on is that we with all of our developments, we take a lot of care and concern with landscaping and trying to make the environment as pleasant as possible there. Small things, we've put pedestrian walkways around the whole precinct here, so it's easy to get around. You've got significant road infrastructure in there. Out of the 80 hectares of the total site, you've got 14 hectares of green space, which runs in and amongst the various platforms and sites there. So, over the next year to 18 months, that's the kind of stuff we will sink our teeth in there and start cleaning up those areas, rehabbing them, planting the right stuff into them to enable the precinct to grow. Purchasers that come along to the launch event this weekend, they'll see some of those landscaping endeavors as they come into the precinct there. And that's as we move into the precinct now, the new planting season now in August, we're starting to be planting up the landscapes on those pavements and walkways as you go throughout the greater park. So I think just in summary, it's been a very exciting time for us. In terms of the current phase of infrastructure, we've got about 35 sites that are due to transfer in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we just tipping that scale now from all the infrastructure development to seeing some real action coming out of the ground there. There's 6 or 7 guys who've got plans in council already for businesses and buildings and things that will start coming out the ground there. So it's an exciting stage to get into, and as I said, by the end of the year, the road infrastructure will be 100% complete, as well as that gatehouse. If it isn't complete, it'll certainly be very near to it. So entering a very exciting phase of the development.
I mean, that mixed use opportunity on that North Coast, I think for your guys forward planning, not necessarily just focusing on civils or infrastructure or top structure, and really putting an emphasis into that, those green spaces, and integrating what almost a communal living environment would be, is so integral to why a project like Bliss Ballito has been and will be so successful within North Point. So I think, Bruce, just coming to you now, Bliss it's a product that lends itself perfectly to the huge demand for estate living on the North Coast. The value-added benefits of being within a securely managed precinct is obviously such a draw card for both end users, but also keen investors. So, I guess as phase 2 gets underway, maybe you can tell us a bit more about the professional team's involvement in the project, and also how, we've come quite quickly into phase 2 release, and how that affects key timelines and milestones for the entirety of Bliss.
Yeah, sure. Andrew, thank you very much. With regard to the timelines, I think it all plays in very nicely. Gives us the ability to roll out phase 2 in very close succession to phase 1. Which helps purchasers in the phase 2, knowing that they don't have to wait years before the product's going to be constructed and built. We're going to do it in close succession to phase 1. There's a heck of a lot of planning and designing and involvement that happens in a project before you actually go to ground. And we're very far advanced with the designs. We've, there's a little bit technically, there's a whole bunch of geotech information we've got to gather through geotech investigations. There's piling designs that's got to be done. There's ground beam designs that's got to be done. That's all very far advanced. The professional teams down in KwaZulu-Natal, I think I mentioned last time, we've been very, very impressed with the performance and the engagement and their response. It's been fantastic so far working with the guys down there, I must say. And we itching to get to ground. As soon as we take transfer of the properties, which is going to happen in the next couple of weeks, we've got the yellow metal fired up and the diesel tankers on site, and we're ready to go. Phase 2 will, as I mentioned, be in close succession to phase 1 from a construction point of view. So yeah, we're very excited to get started.
Amazing. I guess we've got quite a really exciting announcement that will be dropping a bit later on the webinar. So we'll come back to you. A first of its kind for a development on the North Coast. So if guys can hang on to listen to that, I think it's something that's going to be really cool and sets Bliss apart from a lot of the other developments currently going onto the market. Dev, how's it? I think just coming to you, and I guess Dean as well, you guys are a pivotal force on the North Coast when it comes to property and property sales. So I think, we know phase 1, 114 apartments sold out weekend 1, a massive success. Maybe you can just talk about the involvement that Dwell had and why you believe that it had such a massive draw card in terms of its sales success.
Sure, Andrew, of course. So yeah, Dwell Properties, we are a white glove sales solution been fortunate to be involved with some of the most exciting developments on the North Coast. With your team, Rainmaker, we obviously involved throughout the last 2 or 3 years now, looking at the markets, looking at research, and when we were contacted by the True North development team, we were very excited because we knew exactly where the demand was sitting, and it just kept getting better and better in terms of what that product offering was looking like. We knew pretty much exactly where the market was in terms of sizes of our units. It was we were very in tune to see where the demand was for that whole estate type lifestyle. So again, it was just these value adds that kept getting chucked onto Bliss. So yeah, like I said, we've been very fortunate with some of the most exciting projects, and I think volumes speak louder than words. Phase 1 was a huge success, and we're very, very fortunate again to be part of that. And yeah, looking forward to Saturday. I think Kev's touched on it, and he hit the nail on the head. I think at that price point where we know majority of our market is sitting to relocate, and part of this whole immigration setup where we're finding young families, we're finding investors all looking to see where the growth is in the country, and we just going year on year now for the last several years with this incredible growth, and obviously it's driven by several different aspects, from new business to big corporates moving out to the North Coast, the airports, and people are looking for that right address, moving out of outer-lying areas to the Ballito area. So like I said, there's so many big ticks or big boxes that we've ticked with Bliss. So like I said, we're very fortunate, and we're very excited for Saturday.
Well, Dean, I'll come to you just on facilities, but you talk about, you know, location and the trends and demands of buyers in the current market. So we know it's equidistance between Ballito and Salt Rock. So location is prime. We know that being part of a greater precinct or a mixed-use development precinct has massive value adds in terms of what the overall appreciation would be on any particular unit. I think we talk about a 14% average in terms of your capital appreciation in the area over the last 18 months. And I mean, that's just crazy. And it comes to what you're saying about the growth of buyers coming into the area and the node. So maybe, I mean, what are those key drivers? What is it that is attracting people to the North Coast besides the beach?
Yeah, Andrew, again, it's a classic case of supply and demand. We've seen with developers who are also trying to look into the Greater Ballito area and try and find nodes or pockets of land which you actually can't find anymore. So again, I think positionally speaking, Bliss sets himself apart. Again, I keep going on about this bigger precinct. It's the first of its kind in terms of a development in this price point that is going to be part of this greater precinct. So I don't want to say that you stand alone in terms of that you've got no one competing with you. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see our return on investment for our investors, to see the lifestyle young families are going to be living at Bliss. Yeah, it's just driven by so many different aspects.
Cool. And I mean, Matt, I'm going to turn to you now. Just from an architectural perspective, we're not, you know, we talk about price point driven markets here. And in terms of the value that you can get in purchasing at Bliss currently, and you know, we'll touch on it a bit later in terms of what that price point is, but it's not too different to what phase one pricing is. But you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that the architectural, you know, design, the ethos of the overall development has to be linked to a price. As you can see from some of the renders in the backgrounds here, you know, it's cleverly designed. It's integrated with green spaces. There's lots of communal areas. So Dev, you're touching on, you know, it's geared for young families, investors, first-time buyers. Tell us a bit about your inspiration for Bliss and where it came from.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Andrew. So I think as a development company, first and foremost, we're quite hands-on in terms of, you know, the concept of our development. And also, you know, we continually strive to add value at every step in the development process. So we pay a lot of attention to the finer detail, where I think a lot of developers might overlook. So from a concept point of view, we try to stay away from what we call an institutional look and feel. I think Bruce actually alluded to that in the first webinar. So what we've done is we've designed, and particularly on phase 2, we've designed 13 standalone apartment blocks, obviously consisting of 3 floors. So, you know, your ground, your first and your second floors. And, you know, the way we've positioned these blocks across the site is, you know, we've done it in a way that it maximizes the orientation and view aspects. It's done in a way where it maximizes natural light. And of course, you know, it works in a way with the natural topography of the site. And then obviously for us, by using these standalone blocks, it's also created a great opportunity for us to, you know, emphasize landscaping and to create these green pockets in between the blocks. And then of course, another thing that we want to do is we want to do away with fencing between the 2 phases. So there's this nice, lovely green buffer zone between phase 1 and phase 2. And what we'd actually like to do there is create, you know, some walking trails. We don't want there to be any fencing between the 2, between phase 1 and phase 2. So also from how the 2 schemes talk to each other, we want them to be fully integrated. We want to create walkways. You know, you can walk your pets, you can go for an afternoon jog. You know, and we'd like the facilities across both phases to be shared. But yeah, I mean, this is the architectural concept, and you know, like Kevin said earlier, they put a lot of emphasis on their landscaping. I think there's a good synergy with us as True North Developments and Senprop, because we do the exact same thing. So it's this, yeah. So, and again, we've created this concept of this resort style living. So we've done that by breaking the blocks up. They're not so institutional. We've emphasized on, you know, landscaping, the buffer zone. And then of course we've incorporated these meandering pathways that lead to and from the blocks. So that really gives you like this resort feel. So that I would say has been the main driver architecturally.
And it comes across in all the renders, I guess, you know, and I guess the look and feel and the ethos of what Bliss has to offer. We're hoping that it obviously turns into exactly that resort style feeling. So guys, just, you know, in terms of the information, there's some questions that are coming through. You can click on the chat function below and ask away. We'll try and get through as many of them as we can. We've also posted some links in the chat that are clicked through to our brochure and buyer's guide. So there you can see all the information in terms of what the product offering is, the different unit types, site plans, all of that. So if you are interested, you can click through onto that site. You'll also see the contact details for Dean, who is our man on the ground and who has helped facilitate the sellout of phase 1. His contact details are there, so we'll get through to what the process would be beyond this evening's webinar. Obviously, the location, key, products, amazing, facilities on offer at Bliss. Can you maybe just tell us about what the residents can expect from a phase 2 perspective and how it gets integrated? I know Matt touched on it slightly, but how it integrates into the phase 1 components.
Sure, Andrew. Yeah, so I definitely think part of the whole experience of when chatting with True North and going through the designs with Matt and everything was we wanted both phases to benefit from both facilities. So what is quite important to point out is that there is a pool in both the phases as well. So that's sort of quite nicely spread out between all the people that would be residents within Bliss. And then both facilities offer a gym, a laundry facility, as well as a workspace within that. Phase 2, what they have incorporated, just as we've seen it within other estates within the North Coast over here, is there is going to be a cafe of sorts where people could then go and either get some food within the actual Bliss residence itself. So that's quite a nice little extra bonus. And like I said, that can be easily accessed through the walkways. There's not a big distance between the phases and quite a nice walk between them as well. There will be 2 separate gatehouses as well. And I think a massive bonus to that is that there's not going to be too much traffic in between both phases. So that's limiting the amount of cars and obviously doubling that security as well.
And I think, you know, emphasis on that security, something that Kev mentioned earlier, just that layered security element, or that triple or that 3-tiered security element with, you know, the precinct, Bliss, and then essentially your front door. And I mean, how important is that to buyers and investors coming through into the property market on the North Coast?
Yeah, I think it's extremely, extremely important. It's actually the biggest factor that I found with all the purchases within phase 1 as well, is everyone was, what's the security like? What's the security like? And I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the only double access securities into an estate itself. So that double sort of, you cross point into North Point and then into the Bliss residence is just securing you into a bigger estate, which is almost an unbelievable offer.
Amazing. And so Bruce, just going to come back to you quickly. A lot of questions about start dates. I know you talked about getting transfer of the land first, which is a natural progression with a development like this. But estimates on your side in terms of start and completion date, if all goes to plan? when?
Yeah, sure. We anticipate starting during the month of August for phase 1, and it'll just sequentially proceed around into phase 2. So again, a little bit on the technical side, you need to clear the site. Then what we'll do is we'll do the bulk earthworks, prepare the platforms, and start the piling. And that kind of will just move around sequentially from phase 1 to phase 2. So phase 2 will probably lag about between 2 to 3 months from phase 1. So we'll probably be going to ground there in November this year if we can't get in there earlier. Of course, weather permitting. Hopefully the rain subsides a little bit down in your part of the world there. And then the completion will be toward the end of 2023, or it'll probably breach over into 2024 once we've put the formal programs together and got the contractors to squeeze the contractors on time as one normally does.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good easy 12 to 14 month construct on phase 2.
And I think that type of communication and messaging will be distributed out through all the marketing channels and through the Dwell team. So I think all purchases and potential purchases coming into phase 2, there will be very clearly outlined timelines that will be communicated through to you. And I think one of the questions there, just in terms of the facilities and the apartment top structure are being built simultaneously. We're not starting the one and then trying to finish off the other at a later stage. Can you just confirm that?
Yes, yeah. Like I mentioned, it'll be constructed sequentially, and phase 1 will by nature be transferred before phase 2, but phase 2 is its own standalone property, and all the facilities will be completed per each development job.
Okay, great. So I know, in the beginning we spoke about quite an exciting announcement that is, unique to Bliss Ballito and the first of its kind for a development like this, or a development on the North Coast. So maybe if you want to just let our viewers know, and obviously all of those who potentially would secure at Bliss Phase 2 in terms of what opportunity is now available to them.
Absolutely. Andrew, very, very exciting from our side. And hopefully I can conjure a bit of excitement up with the purchasers as well. But what we've decided to do is we've decided to offer a free unit to a qualifying purchaser in the phase 2 development. Basically what it'll be, we've designed a studio apartment of about 30 odd square meters, if I'm not mistaken. The final design still have to be done, which we're going to be giving away to a qualifying purchaser. All the qualifying purchasers who meet the various criteria, which I'll tell you a little bit about now, will go into a draw, which will be publicly done and audited, etc., etc. And they stand a chance to win a unit. As crazy as it may seem, you've heard of winning cars before and that, but I'm not sure how often you've heard of winning a townhouse. We think the value is probably in the range of about 700,000 Rand. It is a studio, so it's a standalone once-off design. It's not like any of the other designs. It's the ground floor, got a great little garden, and we're very, very excited about it. The basic criteria are very high level. You need to sign an agreement. You have to pay your deposit and qualify for a bond within a period of time. We've set it, I think, if I'm not mistaken, end of September. Give everybody a bit of chance to get their bits and pieces together and the bond grants. And on that date, if you have complied and qualify, you'll go into a draw to win a unit. So you may buy a 1-bedroom unit at Matt. I'm not sure our starting prices are.
795,000 starting for a 1-bed.
795, and you could win a 700,000 Rand studio. So 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
We're very excited about it. And
give away apartments. So this is a really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's exciting. We've been able to incorporate it into a nice little element of the site. And we thought, well, you know, why not? Let's give it a go, and hopefully it gets received with the same excitement as what we had when we put it together and came up with the idea.
Yeah, really exciting. So Dean, I mean, that's a draw card in itself. But I think what we wanted to just touch on with you is just, you know, your top picks. So being fully integrated into the sales process and understanding where the demand is from phase one. I think what's also unique about this phase two is that the pricing is not too indifferent from the phase one. It's not as if it's been escalated dramatically from those phase one pricing. So maybe I think if we can share a site plan of phase two, maybe you can just talk through some of the top picks or recommendations in terms of where you saw the biggest demand is and where you see the greater demand coming in for phase two.
Perfect. I'll just wait for it to pop up. Oh, there it is. That was quick. Yeah, so I always say, like I did in the webinar last time, in phase one, I think it's very, Joe from Cape Town might like something different that I would like within terms of position. So I'm really just going to talk to each block and what are their more positive attributes. So it is slightly blurry, but that's just within the Zoom preference that they have. But at the top over there, we have those blocks. So much like in phase one, these blocks lead onto the green belt. So you can see that green belt at the bottom of the screen is the green belt that sits in front of phase one. So I'm just going to the top blocks over there, which is block 19 to 23 at the top. They were, I would say, one of the more popular blocks, just being in the front so that no one is situated in front of you besides the green belt, and they look inland. So just as perspective, because I do see that some people have asked exactly if they see views, most of these are facing north-facing units that look directly inland to the valleys beyond there. So like I said, that huge draw card of a green belt, you sort of got no one in front of you. It gives your unit a lot more space in terms of feel. And then something to point out in the bottom left-hand corner over here, blocks 11 and 12, what we've seen within those blocks, they are more easterly facing. And the reason for that is we thought we would, well, with the developers, capitalize on a bit more feel of that green belt as well. So these blocks face back towards phase one, but they have that nice big green belt, as you can see, with the walkways between them. So giving that same feel as those blocks that I mentioned earlier. And then just to the right of that are what I've termed the power blocks, and only because they're just a bit bigger than the other blocks of 9 units. And these are what I always say, they're slightly lower priced units, so they're going to give a little bit more of a return on investment if you are going into the rental space. But what is quite nice about these blocks at the back is they sort of sit on the crest of the hill that phase 2 sits on. So they will have unbelievable views from that viewpoint, which is quite a bonus as well. And then towards the center, which we've seen was quite popular in phase 1 as well, was these blocks in the middle, with them being so close to the facility center, just a little walk away. And like I said, those blocks are also going to be quite high up, so they'll have the better views as well. So all those middle blocks in terms of your access is probably your best go-to.
Yeah, awesome. And I think, you know, we touched on our starting price for the 1 bed at $795.
Yes.
Where, if you can just let us know where we stand with starting price for our 2 beds and our 3 beds, and then if you can just remind everyone on what the deposit amounts for the 3 different unit types are in order for purchasers to secure.
Perfect. Yeah, so your 2 bed, 1 bath, we obviously have the 1 bedroom, your 2 bed, 1 bath, your 2 bed, 2 baths, and your 3 bed. So your 2 bed, 1 bath, you're looking at 1099 starting. And like I said, those would be in those power blocks, like I mentioned earlier. Your 2 bed, 2 baths, you're looking at 1199. and your 3 beds you're looking at anywhere from 1.569. So those, yeah, so like I said, those will vary within the positions that they're situated in. Yeah, what was the other question you had? Oh, the deposit.
The deposit amount.
Yeah, so it's a fixed deposit of 20,000 Rand for the 1 bedrooms. For all the 2 bedrooms, it's 25,000 Rand, and for your 3 beds, it's a 30,000 Rand deposit.
Just on that, Andrew, as well, you mentioned, you asked what were the, the changes and the tweaks. We found that there was a very big demand for 3 beds. So we've upped the inclusion of a couple more 3 beds from a ratio point of view. And then the 2-bed 2 bars were a very popular sell as well. So we've tried to incorporate a couple more 2-bed 2 bars as well. And creating ground floor units with little gardens, picket fence gardens as well for people who have pets or little kitties that want to run away. You can let them play in the garden without being too concerned.
And actually, are you owners allowed to fence off their gardens, just if they do have little kitties or pets that tend to run away or jumping into neighbors' gardens?
So, sorry, Andrew, if I can just jump in there. So every garden will be fenced off.
Okay.
We will demarcate the gardens and fence them off.
Yeah, it won't be a tall mesh wire fence, whatever. It's a lower white picket fence type thing, Matt.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I think obviously, there's almost, a couple of days away from our launch for phase 2 on the 25th, which is happening on Saturday. But Dean, I think there's opportunity for viewers of tonight to get in touch with you sooner rather than later in order to secure. So maybe if you can just elaborate on the process between now and when we release to the public, what people need to do, where they need to go, how they need to engage in order to secure at Bliss Ballito phase 2.
Perfect. Yeah, Andrew. So what we saw from last time was quite a demand post the webinar of people wanting to secure. People are happy with the product, quite familiar with the product, and they're actually wanting to secure their unit pre-launch on Saturday. So my number has been posted in the link, and I'm sure it will be posted again. But if people are already set, they're not requiring that site visit, not requiring to go to site prior to Saturday, and they're willing to sort of have a chat, select a unit from there and sign, they are more than willing to get in contact with me, and we can follow the process. And in terms of the process, and it would be much the same on launch day itself, but the process, the seller agreements which you sign off its purchase will secure the unit for the time being until you have 3 days to pay those deposit amounts that I mentioned earlier. And following that, you have 30 days to get that bond guarantee or cash guarantee, which ultimately secures you that unit completely.
Cool, thanks. And I think one of the, the benefits of partnering with key professional teams is that we do have Uber on board with Bliss, and there's an opportunity for potential buyers to complete their Uber bond indicator, which will give them a very clear understanding in terms of where their affordability currently lies, as well as their credit rating, which can help facilitate the decision process, especially if you are an investor looking to secure, but also for those first-time buyers, because we know that, it is investing or purchasing property is a massive life-changing decision, beneficial life-changing decision. And I think, all the help you can get is available on our downloads page and on our social pages, which if you aren't following on our Facebook or Insta, you can do that at Bliss Ballito. But also in the chat function below, we've put some links through to the brochure and the buyer's guide, as well as the contact details for Dean in terms of understanding exactly what the process is. Just to reiterate, it's dean@blissballito.co.za, and his number is 082-882-1844. So if you guys out there are keen and you are very clear and know process prior to our release to the public on the 25th. So I guess, you know, come Saturday, we're hoping that there are opportunities available, but knowing the trend from what happened in phase one, where are we, you know, what is our gauge rating here in terms of guys getting in now, or, you know, is it, or fence sitting? I mean, there's opportunity available, especially with all the, you know, having the agility to make subtle tweaks to cater for where the demand was in phase two, to really emphasize a phase two, you know, development or infrastructure that is catered specifically at what guys have been wanting. And I think that's a massive unique opportunity. And it's not to say that there's, you know, guys from phase one who see the value in securing in phase two as well. But also for new time, you know, new buyers and potential investors and first time buyers coming into a phase two can be quite daunting, thinking about, you know, price escalations and, you know, what's going to happen, what's changing. But I think the beauty about Bliss at the moment is that there's because of the streamlined process that has been followed, guys are still going to get in or get the value of purchasing an off-plan residential opportunity within initial phases and still see the appreciation on those. And I think you touched on it earlier in terms of what your rental yields you get. And I think, you know, maybe it's, Dev, coming back to you in terms of what those potential yields could be across the board, or estimates would be. Maybe even just from a, you know, example of the North Coast at the moment in terms of the appetite for rental opportunities compared to buy to own.
Perfect. Andrew, and then just to touch on your points earlier, I think these pre-launches we've seen on every project that we're involved in, this week prior to your public launch, and for those viewing at the moment, it's almost your window of opportunity to get in and get your best choice of units. So again, my encouragement from my side would obviously be to engage with Dean and the rest of the sales guys and do what you can this week. Obviously, if you can't make it, make sure you're first in line on Saturday. But yeah, just back to the actual yields on the for investment markets. I did say it earlier, what's going to be fascinating to see the capital growth as well as the yields, just because we haven't seen a product like this within a greater precinct. We are predicting between an 8 and 9.5% yield return on investment. So that would be your bond repayment against your actual rental amounts, which again, if you're comparing that money into the bank where you're sitting at between 4 and 5%, it almost becomes a bit of a no-brainer. And then on top of that, you have your capital growth. And like I mentioned, it's earlier, I'm very excited to see what this actually does, to see what Bliss does.
I think, I know we talk about it in the marketing collateral for Bliss Ballito, but I think, you know, from an estimated rental income for our one beds, if I'm not mistaken, it's starting from about 7K. 2 bed, 1 bath at about 8K, and the 3 beds going, you know, from about 12K. And, you know, even from that value for potential investors looking at, you know, buying as an investment opportunity and doing both, you know, from a long-term perspective, getting the value from that within a precinct, you know, a multi-layered secure precinct, mixed-use development, plus, you know, Bliss being developed and designed in the way that it has, the opportunity is there for the taking.
Well, exactly. And as I mentioned earlier as well, is that you've got this massive wave of the market who are trying to relocate not just themselves or their family into the Greater Ballito area. And if it's work-related, school-related, security-related, again, at that price point in terms of your rental amounts, your product's very slim. So again, it's a classic case of supply and demand. We sit in an area where there's very low catering for that market between 7 and 14,000 Rand. The benefit now, they're going to be in this precinct. They've got the security, they've got the facilities, they have everything that they haven't been able to get, or if they can find it in the market at that price point, in terms of your rental amounts, it doesn't offer half of what Bliss and North Point has to offer.
Right. And I think just reiterating, guys, for questions on sizes of units and any information on the layouts, you can just click through into the chat function below. There are links to the downloads page on the blissballito.coza website. And that will give you a complete understanding in terms of what purchase opportunities are available. So we are probably coming towards the end of our session this evening. Kev, coming back to you, just from a development perspective. So you're obviously part of a team who've had over 30 years experience developing on the North Coast. You've created some of the most, successful developments that have been seen in the region. What is your thoughts on Bliss Ballito as a product offering?
Yeah, I think we've touched on it broadly, but I mean, what I was very encouraged to see. What's that, Dave?
I said, have you signed your sale agreement yet for units in phase 2?
Look, I think they do make a good investment, and what I was very encouraged to see when I went to the first phase launch was that your buyer was ranging from a young love-struck couple getting into the property market to people at the other end of the age spectrum that I met on site there that live in in an outer-lying region here, and we're looking to retire and looking for a lock-up and go place so that they could enjoy the lifestyle and have the security benefits and all the facilities on tap, and moving into that next stage of their life where they were looking to downsize and have a smaller, less admin type setup for their property. So I think it was very encouraging to see the market. We know that it's there, and I think the point's been touched on a number of times, but the value for money and what you're getting it's a very good offering, and well in excess of the other ones that are out there currently. So we've been very happy to deal with the True North development guys as we've seen the plans progress over the last months and time that we've been dealing with them since the initial discussions we had, and we're very excited to see how the precinct rolls out and how we can work together with them to the benefit of the greater North Point development. I think everything's moving 100% in the right direction, and we getting into this phase now where things start coming out the ground. That's going to be super exciting, and that's going to lead to everyone's capital appreciation values, whether you're in the commercial node or you're in the residential node as an owner or an investor.
Thanks, Kev. And I think you talk about an opportune time to buy. I know we've seen some increases in the prime interest rate over the last 6 months. We're sitting at 8.25. I'm sure Dev and Dean, actually everyone here will still say that the time is ripe for getting your foot into the property market, even for those investors growing their portfolio. I think prior to COVID we were sitting at just over 10, so we're still quite a far way off on that. So if you are looking at it as an investment opportunity or even as a first-time buyer, 8.25 is still an exceptional opportunity right now. And at the price point that Bliss Ballito is delivering, a product that is geared at resort lifestyle living, family orientated, green integrated, and within that layered security of North Points, I mean, it's opportunities are available there. And I think available in phase 2, and I think that's my number that I have here, Bruce.
Sorry, you froze there, Andrew. What is the question? Sorry.
I think there's 136 opportunities available within phase 2. Yeah.
136 opportunities, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Plus the one free one, don't forget.
Plus the one free one.
137.
So I know there's a question about the free opportunity, but just to reiterate that you are going to be guided by the terms of your offer to purchase, and there is a time frame there in order for you to secure your bond and financing. But what Bruce was just mentioning, that we have up until the end of September for buyers to get that locked in and secured. So your time frame is stipulated within that agreement. Dean, I don't know if you have that actual period that buyers would need to secure their financing once they've signed and paid the deposit?
So that's a 30-day period. It's just that the running for in terms of that free unit will end at the end of September.
Yeah. So, but users will have up until the end of September, or for those who purchase in September, they will have to secure it by the end of September.
Exactly.
So effective, sorry, Dean, to jump in. Effectively, the cutoff date to qualify is the end of September. Yeah. So those who purchase prior to the end of September will their names will go in a hat for the draw.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So I think, we're almost done here. I think we talked about short-term or long-term letting, actually. Just a question on short-term letting and opportunities available at Bliss Ballito. Just confirmation that short-term letting is
100%.
available.
I think what we've seen with a lot of places in and around the area as well, there's a massive demand for the short-term letting. So Bliss is definitely geared around that as well. So short-term letting will definitely be incorporated into the Bliss residence.
Now, certain things we'll write into the management rules. It'll be the short-term renting, pets, those kind of things. We do take cognizance of our clientele, of our purchases, and what their requirements are, and we try and make provision for as many things as we can in the management rules to accommodate those people. But definitely short-term rental will be available. It is a holiday town after all, and I think there's a big demand for it. There's indications from the market that this type of development is a great investment from a short-term letting point of view.
Perfect. So I think maybe, coming back to you, Devin, last words, just in terms of opportunities available within the North Coast and Bliss specifically. I know we've got opportunities, 136 opportunities in phase 2. We obviously want to have a massively successful week. And I guess the message and the key message is if you are uncertain, to get in touch with the sales team. But any final words of inspiration for why guys should secure, an apartment at Bliss Ballito?
Personally, for me, I think it's a chance of winning a unit. 700. Yeah, that's obviously massive. And when Bruce told us the news about it, we all excited. I think you mentioned it's the first of its kind, first development to be giving units away. So that's obviously massive. One of our offices are very close to site as well. So what we saw in phase 1, and again, it almost becomes a bit of a privilege, these webinars where we obviously talk around the product, and then there is that little window of opportunity to get in first. If there are those guys who really need to get to site prior, want to meet us on site, there will always be a sales representative on hand to see them. So we understand that, but at the same time, it's just encouragement that if you are in the game, if you're on property markets, from an investor to a family, we're very excited to meet you this week or on Saturday, and looking forward to another successful launch.
Brilliant. And Dean, I think just before you say your goodbyes, confirming the levies per square meter.
Yeah, so your levies, they vary for the different unit types, but you're looking anywhere between 800 for the 1 bedrooms to about 1,600 for 3 bedroom. And
that's estimated for a monthly cost, eh? And I think just from a rates perspective, dependent on the price point you purchase at and the municipal calculations, that will be defined a lot closer to transfer.
100%. So just for rates, you're looking probably between 500 to 1,100 around there.
Cool. And as a reminder, this is an off-plan residential development, so nothing has been constructed as of yet. But if you do click through onto the links or chat to the team, there is a sales office on site, or like Dev was talking about, their sales office is literally a stone's throw away from the site. and there's an opportunity to read through and all the different collateral and see the render that Matt and his team have created, that really gives a visual representation and a feeling for what the end product is going to look like. And I think, as the rest of the team have alluded here, that, this product is amazing. And there's definite opportunities available for a range of purchases, whether you're an investor growing your property portfolio, a first-time buyer, a young couple looking to get their foot into the property markets. There's a wide variety of opportunities available. Bruce, any last words? Just encouragement for the guys?
No last words, just a bunch of questions coming up. I presume most of these will be addressed independent of the webinar. Energy saving things, I think we touched on phase one. Yes, there are. I won't elaborate. And just on the size of the units, I know it's very, very difficult purchasing off plan, particularly if, for us, it's very easy. We deal with this stuff every day of our lives. We've seen similar units. Just a guide there. All these units, when you see a unit that has been designed, a floor plan with furniture in it, those furniture elements are real life furniture elements. So where there's a queen size bed, it'll show a queen size bed, side tables, dining room tables, etc., etc. That gives you a sense of scale, which can often help a purchaser. Other than that, guys, just look forward to seeing you on the weekend, and hopefully the weather plays ball. And we're very excited. We're ready to get going.
Thanks, Bruce. And I think, we have recorded this session, so we will be sending it out to everyone by email. You can click through and it will be loaded onto the downloads link of the blissballito.co.za website. So if you guys do want to come back and listen to any key insights to what the team have been discussing this evening, you can just log on to that site in the coming days to watch it. And then obviously Dean's details, if you are looking to secure immediately, or you just want to get in touch to have a quick chat around what the different opportunities available are, his details are in the chat function, but they will be shared on comms first thing tomorrow, but also on the website as well as our social platforms at Bliss Ballito. Gents, thanks for a lovely evening. It's good to spend some Monday quality time with everyone.
Thanks for hosting.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks for all the participants. We really appreciate you guys participating in the spending your time and listening to what we have to say. Appreciate it. I think we might have lost our host. Oh, there you are.
I know he's back.
Thanks. Just saying thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
Cheers.
Well done, Andrew.
Cheers,